When you watch industry deteriorate, not for a year, but for years, it brings up interesting questions like why don't industry leaders try to rectify situations? Why don't they go out, they look at bad behavior, and they correct that? Why do they continue to make the same mistakes? So hey there, so today we are returning to the bread and butter of this channel. We are talking about comic book numbers. Now this is something I've always found fascinating too, because when you look at numbers, they do not lie. When you look at the comic book industry too, you see a sordid tale. And that tale, it says, hey, comic book companies, they are pretty much causing the downfall of the comic book industry, at least as we know it. And what they're doing, instead of trying to fix that, is they're raising prices and they're driving more and more companies out of business, those being the local comic shops. Now, before we get into this, though, if you want to support something that helps out in this, and I'm talking about keeping comics around, look at this kind of stuff here. Go sub to the channel, but also check out our answer to at least independent solutions. We love comic books, the people on this, but we also want to send a message to people out there. We don't have to lockstep to gatekeepers. We were told we had to as creators, as consumers, and we don't have to do that. So we created our own thing. It's been very successful. We're working on it in demand now, and if you want to get in on this, definitely do. So more on that at the end of the video. So if we look at the numbers that have been going on in comic books, if we talk about what's happened over the last few years, we've seen some huge declines. Sooner or later, too, numbers, they have to at least bottom out or maybe even look better. If you look at these numbers, when we're talking about year-to-date, 2018 versus 2019, it looks like comic book singles are actually finding that. They've gone up by almost 1%. Wow. The problem with this is they're still down by over 4% when it comes to demand. And when you talk about graphic novels, well, you have over a 3% decline when it comes to revenue, and you have over an 8% decline, almost 8.6% when it comes to demand. So if you look at the totals there, you have one heck of a decline in this industry. Now, when you start looking at people that are trying to rectify this, interestingly enough, a lot of the industry has seen the issue, but market leaders like Marvel, they don't care about that. In fact, they have been pumping out books at an obscene level, to the point that it's basically overwhelming comic shops, and you see more and more of them falling. Also, if you look at their answer to the problems out there, you can see it right here. If we look at the dollars invoiced books, you'll look at this. Number one here, Marvel Comics 1000. This isn't a 1000 book either. They just created a generic 1000 label. They slapped it on a book, and they slapped a $10 price tag on it. If you look at number two, Absolute Carnage number one, same thing. You have something that's a pop-up. Then again, it may be something that people look forward to, but you're talking about 20 plus books in this series, and you're talking about starting out at $8. As you go forward, you see Superman year one, number two, $8. And you notice a baseline that's set by every comic in here, save one, $4.99. When you get to the $4.99 or $5 pricing point, what place do you start to price people out? Especially those people that you need to come in to sustain the industry. Kids, at what point do you tell them, yeah, you're not welcome here? See, that's one of the reasons that I think industry is having issues. And when you look at a lot of the leaders out there, when you look at their market share, you see a huge divide between DC and Marvel, because DC has actually tried to throttle back. In fact, like I said, everyone has tried to do that, but Marvel. You see Image Comics, they're setting at their 6%. They've actually fallen off with that because, again, they've pulled back. So you see a drop off from 10% to that. And IDW, yeah, you see where they're setting. Now, to give you an idea of what's happening with other companies out here, you may actually see Marvel pull down numbers, but again, those aren't from you and I. Those are from local comic shops. And the detriment or the hit with companies, well, look at IDW, for example. They're actually publicly traded. We have their numbers year to year. And well, you start noticing a problem occurring up about 2017. You see, 2016, this company is making money. They made $3.669 million. Then in 2017, you start noticing problems. And the problems are bigger than the spreadsheet, in fact. You start noticing that they're having to water down stock, they're taking out more loans, and well, they report an entire year deficit. You see the brackets equal loss of $800,000. Now, not to be outdone with that, when the company's worth a whole whopping $50 million, they have the equity to it there. They bring in the next year. The next year goes from $800,000 in loss to $36 million in loss. This company, their evaluation at $50 million, it goes down to a value of around $16 million. And well, for this year alone, when we're talking about that, you see, that last year, it was bad. Well, 2019, it's pretty bad too. You're talking about $9.3 million, again, negative, so they've lost that much. Plus, they have huge amounts of debt that they've restructured, but it's going to end up coming due, and you're talking about $30 million plus. Here you also have about $3.8 million of that being comic books alone. So, you're talking about places that can't sustain what's been going on. When you look at this, like I said, what you see here is a very interesting way of doing things, because you saw this with magazines and other items. The only difference is you have bookstores, you have local comic shops that are held hostage. They only have one product to sell. In that, demand goes down. But when you go out, you pump out, say, 20 to 40 covers of something, you pump out something at a huge price, they end up paying. And what happens is they shutter their doors. We've seen a lot of them fall too. And sooner or later, we're going to get to the point where so many of them fall that it's going to be catastrophic for distribution. That should worry people. That should worry professionals. In fact, the numbers that I was showing earlier, the ones that involve the company IDW, that should worry professionals, because in those losses is about $1 million that would have gone to workers. You see salaries and benefits decreasing by almost $260,000 in 1 year, actually in 9 months, and you see almost $1 million in publication and cost of artists and writers that are also taken off the table. All of this stuff, it has an impact. And this impact says that this approach, it's not sustainable. You can grab your money now and hope for the best. And it's going to make these spreadsheets look good. Sooner or later, too, you're going to hit a bottom where you don't lose any more money because, hey, you've had your worst year and you even out with worse years. But what does that say about this? Now, you could go out and correct this, rectify it in many ways. Try to bring in consumers, not just new ones, but maybe the old ones that you ran off. Put out good products. Get people wanting to come back and read comic books. Make sure that they want to bring their kids, too. Also in that, maybe, just maybe, go out and apologize for all of those things that you did that ran off consumers. When you said they weren't wanted or needed or any type of headlines were good headlines, and especially when you were doing those that denigrated those consumers and said they weren't only not wanted, but hey, block botting's okay, treating them like trash is okay, and having pros that talk to them like absolute garbage, that's okay, too, with freelancers. But then again, like I say, what do I know in that? We're just looking at this year ticking by. Toys absolutely have made a rebound, but for some reason, comic books, they can't find their footing. If they ask questions in that, if companies said, hey, what's going on, and they looked at independence, if they looked at people that go out and on their own, without any help from their shill marketing, their professionals are on, make money like this, maybe they could answer the question, what do we do now? But anyhow, you tell me what you think about all of this craziness. If you like this kind of content too, make sure you're subbed to the channel. If you find it informative, put this stuff out there. Make sure this message goes out, because information is power. If you want to support independent endeavors, you want to say, hey, we need something that moves forward. Maybe this is the foundation for something better. Then by all means, check out the Case of the Littlest Umbrella. This is an all-ages Lovecraftian tale. One of the solutions that you have is bringing in kids, but also bringing in everyone with that. You should be able to sit down, have fun, and, well, everybody enjoy that. This will have 3 stories involved with it on the main book, and there's another book as well that takes a satirical look at what went on in comics while also being appropriate for everyone. Check that out, and also, like I say, leave me your comments on this. When you see that, I'm wondering what you see. Do you see a way to reverse this, or is it too late? I'm wondering what you think on that. By this, again, you don't have to agree, disagree. It's whatever you want. And ending this, I want to say thank you. I try to end every video by saying that because there are a lot of people that are forgotten who empowers them. I by no means whatsoever want to diminish that. You make endeavors possible, so thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll do this again soon.